All right. So thanks everyone for coming to our tutorial on a introduction to GitHub pages. I'm Alex Wickner. I'll be presenting the first part of the tutorial, and Dhruvat Patel will be presenting the second part. So first off, I'll just go through a brief overview of what we're going to cover in the tutorial. I'll first discuss what GitHub Pages is and give a link to some examples of how it's used by companies for hosting a website for some of their open source software on GitHub. We'll then get started and create a GitHub repository that we'll use to host our GitHub Pages website. We'll set that up with a theme. We'll configure our website and give it some personal info and configure some of the more broad aspects of our site. We'll then talk about adding and editing website pages, adding images, adding links, and image links, and also different ways you can add your code to your site. And then finally, we'll talk about adding blog posts to GitHub Pages sites, and we'll give an example of how you can display PDFs nicely in one of those posts using the Adobe PDF Embed API. So first off, what is GitHub Pages? GitHub Pages is a free service that is offered through GitHub that allows you to host a static website directly from a Git repository that is on github.com. GitHub Pages uses Jekyll, which is a pretty easy to navigate static site generator. And it has a number of uses. The sort of one we're going to be talking about here being that you can use it to make a personal website, but it can also be used to make websites for different projects that you might be working on GitHub, which is what a number of companies will use it for. And GitHub has a set of different example websites that have been made by companies such as Yelp to sort of display and show off their open source software that they have available on GitHub. So before we start, I'll just say that during this tutorial, we're going to be using the online interface on github.com to create our GitHub Pages website. However, you could also have Jekyll, which is this static site generator, locally installed on your computer, and you could run that within a local Git repository, which can then be pushed to a remote repository on GitHub. This has the advantages of being able to use the full version control functionality of Git on your own computer. And it also gives you the option of being able to quickly host and view your website locally before you publish it online. So you don't have to be, making changes that are already put online before you have made all the changes you want to your website. So as you can probably understand, this is the preferred way to create a GitHub Pages site. But unfortunately, because setting up Ruby and Jekyll on your own computer, which you need to be able to do to host it, is computer specific, and it will depend on what type of computer you have. We're not going to be able to show you how to do that here. So we're going to instead be using this online interface. But if you're interested in this tutorial or after this tutorial and continuing to use GitHub Pages, I would encourage you to go and look at the docs for how to do this on your own computer, because it will make your life quite a bit easier for reasons that we'll see later. So first off, before we begin, I would like everyone to open up the view version of this presentation that hopefully should have been sent out already. If not, Dhruvat, could you post that in the chat? Because over the course of this tutorial, we're going to need you to copy some text and post it into the GitHub online interface, and we'll also need you to be able to open up some hyperlinks here. Finally, we have a lot to cover in this tutorial, so we're not going to be able to take questions until the end, just because we're going to be doing a lot of editing and going through a lot of different features here. If at any point you get lost or you want to see a more explicit example of something we've done, the repository for the GitHub Pages site that we're going to be using in this tutorial is available at that link right there. And if you'd like to view the resulting website that is being compiled from that repository, you can go to the second link. So I just want to check, has everyone gotten access to this presentation? If you can give a thumbs up or say yes in the chat, that would be good. Okay, so if we don't have a link to the presentation yet, let me just get that real fast.
Hold on, I'll do it now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, not being in the right Zoom room means we're a little bit behind here, but that's okay. Okay, I just posted a link to my version of the
Thank you.
presentation.
You were way
here.
quicker. Thank you.
Everyone. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so once everyone has that up, we can then get started on the first step, which is going to be creating our repository that we're going to use to host our GitHub Pages site. So the first thing that everyone needs to do is to go ahead and navigate to github.com and sign into your account. This can be either your personal account or one that's associated with your UMD email. And then once you're signed in, I'm going to have you click on the second link here. What that is going to do is it's going to open up a page. It's going to prompt you to create a new repository from this minimal mistakes template, which is the website template that we're going to be using for this tutorial. And once you click that link, you should get a page that looks something like this. You'll see that there are 4 fields here. We have the name for our repository, a description, whether we want the repository to be public or private, and whether we want it to include all of the branches. Also, Druvid, it looks like your screen is being cut off a little bit at the bottom. I'm not sure if there's a way we can fix that. But moving on here. Okay, there it goes. Now we're good. Okay. So in this tutorial, we're going to be making a user website as opposed to a project website. The difference here is that a user website is a website that is going to be associated with your GitHub account, whereas a project website is going to be associated with a particular repository that you might have on your account. So the difference between these is that, a user website is more for sort of a general personal website, whereas a project website is going to be for a particular project you might be working on GitHub. So for a user website, we need to give a repository a particular name. In this case, it needs to be owner.github.io, where owner is your GitHub username. So you can see here, I've called mine awickner.github.io. You can then give your website a short description, like, tutorial website or starter website. You want to make sure that your repository is set to public, and we're only going to include the master branch from this template, so don't select include all branches. And once you've done all that, you can click the bottom link and create a repository from template. All right. So once you have clicked that link, you should be sent to a page where you are essentially viewing the contents of your new repository. And on that page, you should see a bar with a number of options that you can open sort of between the contents of your repository and the name of your repository on this page. We're then going to have you click on the settings tab, which is on the far right side next to insights. And then once you have clicked on settings, we're going to have you select the pages option from the left sidebar on that page. So this is what you should see once you get to that point. So a couple things I'll make note of here. You can see that on that page, there's an option to choose a theme for your GitHub Pages site. You can click on that link to go and view the different default themes that GitHub already has available for you. But make sure you don't select any because we've already loaded in our theme from this minimal mistakes template that I mentioned before. This is what's called a remote theme, which is essentially a theme that's hosted from another GitHub repository somewhere else. And there are many freely available remote themes that you can load in for your website. If later you're interested to see what other themes are available, you can go to this jekyllthemes.com to see some other examples. And like I mentioned, the remote theme that we're going to be using is called Minimal Mistakes. And the documentation for what the different features and layout styles for this theme are can be found at the second link here at the Minimal Mistakes documentation. So we may reference back to that link at different points in the presentation. So it might be a good idea to have that open now. And Jason just posted another theme down there. So the final thing I'll make note of is the option to choose the branch that you're going to publish your site from. So if we go back to the theme here, you can see that the source branch that we have set right now is the master branch. And the source folder we're publishing from is root. That should be what it is set to as default for the theme or for the template that you just cloned from. So just don't touch that, and your site should automatically be published from this default master branch. And you can see on there as well, it also shows the link to our GitHub pages site, which for me is awigner.github.io. Okay. So in order to see the progress of GitHub in building our site, you can then go to the Actions tab on that same options bar that I'd shown before. And you should see a GitHub Pages build action there. Now, there are 4 sort of states that a GitHub build action can have. It can either have an X, which means it is incomplete. It can have a red dot, which means it failed. It can have a yellow dot, which means it is still building your website. Or it can have a green dot, which means that your website build is completed and your website can now be viewed. So at this point, you should have had enough time for GitHub to build your website. And if you go to the link that I previously mentioned, it should be username.github.io, you should see the base version of the template that we're going to be working with here. So I'll make note of a few things first. On the far left side, you can see that we have a sidebar that shows some of our personal information that we're going to be editing here. So we have our name, a short bio, and then links to various websites or social media. We have the layout for our homepage, which for this particular template is just a feed of all of the blog posts that we have uploaded to our site. So you can see they have a bunch of default posts that were already in this template. And then finally, up on the top right here, we have links to all of the pages on our site, as well as a search bar that we can use to search our site's contents. All right. And then the next thing that I want you to do is just go and select the code tab to see the files that are used to generate your website back in your GitHub repository. And these are the files that we're going to be adding to and editing to format our website. And I'll just say at this point, if you are a well-versed user of Git or GitHub Desktop, you can clone this repository and edit these files locally. However, in this tutorial, we're going to continue editing everything on github.com so that everyone is doing the same thing. Okay, so before we do anything else, we're first going to upload some of the images and documents that we had asked you guys to bring to this tutorial. So in order to do that, I'd like everyone to go ahead and head to that code tab. You should see a folder called Assets within the little box below that. So you should click on that folder and then click on the Images subfolder. Now, once you've gotten there, you should see a drop-down menu on the top right of that panel that says Add File. I'm going to have you click that, and we're going to then select Upload Files. And you should see a big box that is asking you to drag additional files or to choose the files from your file system. And I'm going to have you do either choose the 3 files that we have or that we asked you guys to bring. So that's your profile pic, a banner picture, and a PDF, and select those to be uploaded. And once you've done that, we're going to add a short commit message just describing what we did. So in this case, you can see our commit message is added pictures and PDF. And we're going to commit those changes directly to our master branch. Okay, so now those pictures and PDF are available on our website for us to be able to add into different pages. And finally, what we're going to do is we're going to navigate back to that asset/images folder, and we're going to delete this default profile picture that the template already has. So you should see an image called biophoto.jpg. We're going to have you click on that, and we're going to delete it by clicking on the trash icon at the top right side of the image box. And once you've done that, you can commit your changes. So commit the deletion of that image. Okay. So we have our pictures uploaded and we have our PDF uploaded. So the next thing to do is we're going to configure the website with some personal information. Now for a website being generated by Jekyll, we're going to do this by editing the _config.yml file. This should just be in the root directory under the code tab again. And this is what's going to allow us to edit the global aspects of our website. So for example, we can edit our website's title. We're going to be editing the email and social media information that was appearing on the sidebar there, as well as a number of other things. So first up, we're going to have you guys add a title to your website, as well as a description for your website and some identifying information if you would like to. So once you get into this config.yml file, you can edit it. Sorry, if you go back one page through it, you can edit it by clicking on the edit file button at the top right side of the panel. Should look like a little sort of pen writing. And scrolling down in that file, you should see the fields that I've listed here. Another thing that we're going to have you edit is the minimal mistakes skin, which will affect the general look of your website. And if you'd like to see the options that are available for the different website skins, you can head over to the minimal mistakes docs and go to the configuration page. I think there are 12 to choose from. And for this tutorial, I've made sure to use the ugliest one. So no matter what, your website will definitely look better than mine. And this is an example of what the edits should look like once you've gone through and just made some simple ones here. So you can see that I've added a title for the website. I've added in an email. I've added in my usernames for my Twitter and GitHub account. You don't have to do this, but I chose to in this case. And I've also changed the minimal mistakes skin to sunrise, which will affect how my website looks. I've also left the search tab here as true. That will allow me to use the search function on my website. Okay. So once you've made some short changes there to your satisfaction, you can go ahead and commit those changes at the bottom of the editing page and just add in a short descriptive commit message like edited configuration file or something like that. Okay. So what we just modified there are some of the global aspects of our website. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to edit that sidebar that I showed previously to be able to display the profile picture we just uploaded, display a short description of ourselves, and then also show some of our outside social media or academic profile links. So as you probably noted, each of those links that we saw before had little icons corresponding to which website we're going to be sent to, such as Twitter, Instagram, or things of that like. But since we're academics and we're going to be using this personal website to show off what we've been doing in our research, we would also like to have some links to academic websites. So in order to include those icons that we're going to need, we're going to add in the Academicons package to be loaded into our website so that we can use more academic focused icons. So in order to do this, we're going to head back to the code tab and we're going to select the add file option on the top right, and we're going to click create new file. Now we're going to title this file underscore includes /head/custom.html. And what this file is going to essentially do is it's going to add in an additional command to the head of all of our HTML files that will be executed prior to loading each of our web pages. And the particular command that we would like to add in, which we can which you should be able to enter now that you have selected this create a new file option, is the command that I have in quotes here under bullet point 3. So make sure you don't include the quotes in the when you copy and paste this command in. It should look something like this. And like I said, what this is going to do is just add in those additional academic icons that we're going to use for our sidebar. All right. So once you've copied that line, pasted it into the file, we can then commit those changes. And we have successfully edited our HTML header to load in those additional icons. So now that we have access to those, we're going to head back to our config file. And we're going to begin editing the author field. So once again, I'll have you click on the edit file button at the top right of that page and scroll down to the author field. So there should be 3 main fields that you're going to want to edit here. There's an option to add in your name and a short bio. So as an example, this is what I added into mine. And then finally, we're going to set the file path for the profile pic that we had uploaded earlier. So we uploaded that to the assets/images folder. So we're going to set that file path to /assets/images/ the name of whatever the profile picture that you uploaded was. So in my case, I also happen to call it bio photo. Make sure you include the file extension there for your photo as well. Okay, so that has edited some of the personal information in the sidebar. The next thing that we want to do is we want to edit the links that link to our various accounts that we would like to show in the sidebar. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to scroll down to the links subfield, which should be under the author field. And we're going to edit or remove some of the links that are there as a default. So we're going to do that using the following general format. First, we'll edit the label, which is just the label of the particular site that you're linking to. For example, it could be your Twitter. The next thing that we'll do is that we're going to edit the icon command here. And this is a little bit of a complicated command, but I'll try my best to explain how it works. And you can see some examples in the subsequent slide. But this icon command essentially takes 3 different variables that will determine the icon class that you're drawing from, the format of the icon, and then the name of the icon that you're going to display. So we have two icon sets available on this website. We have the sort of more general font awesome set of icons. And you can view all the different icons that are available in that set by going to this fontawesome.com link. And the icon class that corresponds to that will depend on the type of icon that you're referencing. But for example, if you're trying to reference a brand icon from this icon set, we're going to use the icon class FAB. That stands for Font Awesome Brands. But more general icons might use FAS, which I believe is Font Awesome Solid. And in addition to Font Awesome, we also have the Academicons package that we just loaded in. And the icon class for that is AI. So for the icon format, there are a number of icon formats that you can use, and you can view the different examples of those by going to this Font Awesome link that I show here. That's the third link. But if you don't want to change that, or if you don't want to worry about how the icons are being formatted, at least initially, you can just use FA-FW if you're using a Font Awesome icon, or AI-FW if you're using an Academicon. And then finally, the name of the icon is formatted as such. So you have the icon class, or I should say not the icon class, the icon set you're getting it from. So you would start out with an FA, then a dash, then the name of the icon that you're referencing. So for example, if we're referencing the Twitter logo, that would be Twitter. And then there are two different types of icons for each case. There's the normal icon and the square version of the icon. And if you want to use the square version, you would just add -square. So if we're using the square Twitter icon, our icon name for that is FA-Twitter-square. And for an Academicon, it would be AI-icon name -square for using the square icon. So once you have that set up and you've formatted it correctly, you can then add in the URL link to your particular profile here. So for example, this is just a link for my Twitter profile as an example. And Drew, if you go to the next page here, I'll just show off what that looks like once it's all put together. So you can see here that I have links to that I have created icons and links for Twitter, for my GitHub page, and for my Google Scholar, where I'm using the Google Scholar Academicon here. So you can see here the main difference is that for one, I'm using the Font Awesome commands, that's the FA commands, and for the other, I'm using the Academicon commands, or the AI commands. And then for any of the links that I don't want to use, I can add # to the beginning of the line to comment those links out, so they'll no longer appear. All right, so once you finish that, you can commit your changes with a descriptive commit message, as always. And your website will take about a minute to build in these changes, and that's sort of generally the case for any change that you make. But once it's finished, you should then be able to view your new website sidebar. And in my case, it looks something like this. So you can see I have my profile picture, name, description, and the various links with icons to my social media and academic profiles. All right, so the next part is going to be presented by Druvit, so I'll let him take it away.
Okay, so next thing we'll do is configure the homepage. And by that, I mean add a homepage title, as well as edit the layout. So first, we go to the index.html file under the code tab. And this index file is the default file for the website homepage, and it lets you load in the layout that you choose. So first thing we'll do is we'll rename this file to index.md, and this extension .md will allow you to use the markdown syntax to write text onto your homepage. So once you've edited or renamed the file, you can go down to the body of that, or the box, the text box beneath it, and add the following fields between the two dash or two lines which each contain 3 dashes. So what this is going to do is add what's called a front matter to the page, and the front matter is where information of how to configure a page is contained. So here's an example of what it should look like. So you see that lines 1 and 10 each have these 3 dashes, and then the front matter, which is used for configuring the home page, is contained between those lines. So you have the field title with the title that you choose, the layout, which we will keep to the single format, and to look at more options, you can look at the Jekyll docs. Author profile will keep that true, and under what we'll add a field called header and a subfield to that called image, where we will paste the URL for where you've stored your banner picture that will go on your homepage. So in this case, we'll be using the Combine logo. And we uploaded it to the assets/images folder in the beginning of the tutorial. So you see it's /assets/images/combine.png. And then underneath the front matter, so at the under line 10, you can add any text you'd like to display directly on the homepage using Markdown syntax. And here we just have this short message where we've utilized what are called site variables to reference those variables like title, email. Okay. Yeah, so you can add text to the body of the page under the front matter using Markdown syntax, and then commit the changes. And I'll say, if you're not familiar with the Markdown syntax, you can look at the link on this slide, which will take you to the docs where you can learn more about it for writing and formatting using Markdown. So once you commit changes and you let your website build, the homepage should look something like this, but where with the banner picture replaced by what you've used, and of course the title also, and text by what you've edited. Okay, so we've edited the homepage, but in almost all cases, your homepage will not be the only page on your site. So we'll show you how to add a new page and how to link it to the top of the site, the website's top bar. So first we will create a link at the top bar. So to do that, we go to the /data/navigation.yml file under the code tab, and then in the text box under the field which is called main, you enter the title and URL of your new page, like so. So it'll be -title and then in quotation marks what you want to call that link at the top bar, and then underneath another field URL, and then for that you'll put / the page link / where the page link is the desired URL. So let me give you an example. We have decided to add a button at the top bar called code, and we named we set the desired URL to code. So you should remember this URL, because when we create a page that will link to this button, this is the link that we will need to use. And I will remind everyone again, be very careful with be punctual with the syntax. For example, you see a dash here in front of the title, but not a dash in front of the URL. Make sure you follow that. Otherwise, there will be there will be troubles when you try to compile the website. Things won't appear the way you had hoped them to. Okay, so now that we've created a button at the website top page, we would like to create pages that link to that button. So to add a new page, navigate to the pages folder under code tab, and then create a new file and name it something, page.md. And then once you've created the page, create a section at the top of in the text box, which contains the page's front matter, which again edits or controls the configuration of the page. And we do that by adding 2 lines, each containing a triple dash. And in between those, is where we fill in the configuration fields. And we will use the following fields: a title with the title of the page, layout, which we again select to be single, author profile true, and permalink, which will be slash page link slash, where the page link will be the URL that you set in the previous step when you created the button at the top bar. So it should look something like this. Right? The front matter of the new page that you've created should look like this. And notice the permalink here is /code/, which coincides with the URL that we set when we created the button at the website's top bar. Okay, so once you've done that, you can commit your changes. And of course, once you commit the changes, your website will not build immediately, but when it does, it should look, you should have an extra button. In our case, it's the code button at the top bar. And when you click on it, it should take you to this page, which has nothing on it except the title, because we haven't put anything on that page yet. So once you've created a page, there certainly, you'd like to put things on there. You can share images, links, or code, and the code which may or may not be on GitHub. So now we'll demonstrate how to do each of those things. We will add an image to your page using Markdown syntax. And then we will have this image to be a clickable link to a URL. And then we will also show how to add code to your page using 3 different methods. One will be create a clickable button that will open a Jupyter notebook, host it on GitHub, but it'll open it in Colab. And then another way would be to directly display your code on your page using the Markdown code block with appropriate code highlighting for a set of allowable languages. And the third way we'll display code will be using a GitHub gist. So first, we will show how to add an image to your page, right? So to add images to a page, you first navigate to the body of the page file in your repository, and then use the following general Markdown command: exclamation mark, square brackets with the image name in there, and then parentheses with the image URL and an image title in quotation marks. So to add, as an example, we'll add the Google Colab logo. If we're trying to add the Google Colab logo, then this will be the command. So again, we've just replaced the relevant fields in this general command with what we are trying to do. So open in Colab, and then this link which leads you to the actual icon. Now, if you would like to add text, of course, regular text you can add in, it's just Markdown text. But if you would like to add a hyperlink, then the Markdown command for that is the text that you'd like to display in square brackets, and then followed by the link that you'd like that text to redirect to when you click on it, and that link in the parentheses after the square brackets. So that's how you add a text with hyperlink. And then if you would like to add an image that is clickable, where you click it and it redirects you to another link, then it's the same syntax as adding an image, but now enclosed in square brackets. And then after that, there's in parentheses the link URL, right? So now we'll show how to take the Google Colab button that we had uploaded, right? And how to make that into a clickable button such that when you click on it, it opens a Jupyter notebook that is hosted on GitHub in Colab. So here's the command for that. So you see that we have the same command as we did for displaying just a Google Colab image, right? The button image, now enclosed in the square brackets. And then after that, we have this link in parentheses. So this link leads to the specific Jupyter notebook that we're using. But if you have your own Jupyter notebook on GitHub, then you can obtain this URL by navigating to your GitHub repository, right-clicking on the notebook file and selecting copy link address, and then you can use that link address in here to use your particular notebook instead of ours. And one thing to remember is, for this particular example, you have to change your URL so that the URL of your notebook, such that instead of www.github.com, it's actually www.github2collab.com, and then the rest of the URL remains the same. So that's how you add, and we'll show the completed version after we've gone through each of these methods. So that's how you add a clickable button, such that when you click the button, it redirects you to a Jupyter notebook that will open, that is hosted on GitHub, and then opens in Google Colab. Let's say you want to just add code directly onto your page, right? You could do that. You could just first copy and paste your code into the body of the page file, and then wrap it around with this wrapper, which is just 3 backticks, and then this language command. And then to close that wrapper is also 3 backticks. Now, the language command here is the name of the programming language that you used. So if you use Python, use Python. If it's C, C. And what all it does is it tells GitHub how to highlight your code, right? So you can actually leave that command blank, and then you'll just have no highlighting. But it's extremely simple to directly display your code using Markdown code block in this way. And for a list of languages for which highlighting is available, you can use the link at the bottom of the slide to just see if the language that you're interested in displaying is supported by GitHub highlighting. And the third way to display code that we are going to show is using a GitHub gist. So to create and embed a GitHub gist, you first navigate to this website, the link in step 1. Once you open that link, you should enter a description and title for your code in the respective boxes. And then enter or paste your code in the bottom text box, right? And then underneath, there will be a button that says create gist, and it will have options for create a secret gist or public gist. Essentially what you're doing when you create a gist is you're creating a GitHub repository for that bit of code. And you can choose if you want it to be public, secret, or private. And once you create gist, you'll be sent to a page where you can view your new gist. On that page, you should copy the code beginning with, quotation marks, this lesson sign, script, ... It's next to the embedded drop-down menu, and then paste that bit of code into the body of your GitHub pages, into the body of the page that you're trying to add in your GitHub pages repository. Once you've done that, and then committed your changes and let the website build, you should be able to see the GitHub gist embedded on your page. And for more information on GitHub gists and displaying other types of files, you can look at the link that's at the bottom of this page. So once you've followed these methods of displaying code on your site, we've done it directly on the page that we created for code. It should look something like this, where the first thing is the clickable Colab button, which redirects you to a Jupyter notebook that will be opened in Colab. The second example is the Markdown code block and you see that there's appropriate Python highlighting. And then the third example is it's the GitHub gist. Okay, so just as we added a new page, you can also add a new blog post to your website. And blog posts are organized by their date, categories, tags, and they will be displayed on pages with certain layouts for our chosen theme. For that, you can go check out the docs for the minimal mistakes template that we're using. So to create a new blog, you navigate to the _posts directory under code in your GitHub repository. And then you create a new file with the following name: year, month, year-month-date -name of your blog post .md. And you enter the following front matter at the top of the text box of that file. So it should look something like this. There's title, and then which is the title of your page that you're adding, or the blog post you're adding. Categories with in this case. So, for our example, we'll upload a CV, and then categories, we just added experience, and then a field for tags, which if people search on your website, this will, these tags will be used to search through your content. So in this case, we just added PDF. And then under this front matter, you can optionally add in text to display on the page using front markdown syntax. And once you've done that, you can commit changes. So let me just go back here, make sure it looks something like this. So again, when you create a post, under the post directory, you should have the year - month - day, and then - name of your post with this front matter. So once you've commit, so then you can go ahead and commit the changes that once you've made them. Now, we're going to upload a CV in the form of an embedded PDF. So first we'll show you how to embed PDFs onto your GitHub pages. So embedding PDFs on a web page is made very easy using the Adobe's freely available PDF embedded API. So first we'll need to get access to this API. And to do that, navigate to the website on step 1. Now, you have to log in using a personal account. As far as we've tried, the UMD account doesn't work for this, but making a personal account is free, and the PDF embedded API is also freely available. So once you've done that, once you navigate to this website, click on Get Credentials, and then you can sort of read and accept the terms of use, and then you'll be taken to a page where you have to enter the name of your credentials and application domain, right? So it should look something like this. So you can make the credentials names whatever you want. We've just called it GitHub Pages. And then for application domain, it has to be your GitHub website. So again, it's username.github.io, right? So now make sure you check the box which says you've read the developer terms, and then create the credentials. Now open a new tab and navigate to the Adobe PDF Embedded API live demo, which you can use the link posted here to access. Now select the type of PDF embedding that you'd like to use and click on the Generate button. So we'll be using the inline embedding. This is just a format in which your PDF will be displayed and embedded on the web page. So once you generate code, copy the code into the body of the post file that you just created under the posts directory in your GitHub repository, right? So the code should look something like this, right? And when you've pasted it into the body of your post file in your repository, it should look something like this. Now, in this code, we're going to edit a few fields: the client ID field, the URL, and the file name, which are found. The client ID is in this case, on this image here, it's on the 14th line here. The URL is on the 16th line, and the file name is on the 17th line. So the client ID will be replaced with the API key that you just generated on your Adobe account. Now, if you need to know if you don't have access to that immediately, you can use the link on this slide here, on slide 50, under bullet 6A. So once you click on this, you'll be taken to a page where you can select the project with the name you just created, right? And then that'll give you access to the credentials for that project. Once you obtain them, you should put them in this client ID field between quotation marks, as it's done here. And then the URL field will be changed to the full URL of the PDF that you uploaded in the beginning tutorial in the assets/images folder. So in this case, awickner.github.io, assets, images, and then CV. So this is the name of the PDF. And then the file name, you should edit to the name of the PDF and of course with the PDF extension. So once you've made those edits, you can go ahead and commit changes. And once GitHub has built your website, you can view the posts page, and you should see in our case, it's called, the title of the page is Curriculum Vitae, and you can see the embedded PDF using an inline embedding as is shown here. Yep. So
Okay,
thank you
thanks
for staying
everyone.
and